And I'm gonna say hello. Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is the beginning of episode 8. This is episode 8. This is gonna be episode 8 of Built from Scratch, the uh, Scratch programming educational game development show where we make a game using the Scratch programming language, starting with a blank Scratch project and making it piece by piece, hour by hour, 1 hour every day, live on camera, doing all of our programming as well as debugging and thinking about how to implement things. So here we are at where we were at the end of episode 7. We had making planets on the fly was what we called this. If you are interested in following along at home, you could go to the Scratch website. The Scratch website is www.scratch.mit.edu. And from there, you could search for Built from Scratch, and you would find a list of my stuff. You'd find a list of my shared projects, and you could go to episode 7 here. You could click on it. You could see inside, and you would be able to make a remix. Probably maybe the shared button. I don't remember where the remix button is. You'd figure it out. You could click make a remix, and you would have a copy of this program, and you could start making your own version of this game based off of the code that we have here. First things first, I'm going to start adding to this game, but first, before I do that, I'm going to go to File, Save as a Copy. To keep a record of the last episode, I'm going to say 8, and I'm going to put a bunch of question marks there because I like putting a bunch of question marks there. It lets us know that we don't really know what's going on. We're going to do a very brief review of the code as it stands and what we've accomplished, and then we're going to dive into whatever it is we're going to do next. So, last episode, yesterday, we did what we called it. We called it Making Planets on the Fly. And what we did was a whole bunch of work in this planet sprite, which I guess you can't really see because I am in the way. So maybe you can see it now. Oh, that's the wrong direction. Okay, so I did a bunch of work in this planet sprite here, which, in order to make it so that we could have as many planets as we want in the game, more or less. We spent a lot of time yesterday talking about the the clone limit in Scratch, which says we can only have 300-ish clones, 300-ish sprites. I can't remember whether it only counts clones or whether it counts all sprites. Doesn't really matter. We can only have 300 of something. We decided we wanted to be able to have more than 300 planets, and indeed maybe even more than 300 stars. So at the moment we made a system where we just make 3 stars, and we'd make 5 to 10 planets for each star. But what if we wanted to have 100 stars, right? Then we would quickly run out of clones, run out of room in our universe, and we don't want to do that. We didn't want to run out of room in the universe, so we decided to make a system where we aren't using any clones for any planets unless they need to be drawn on the screen. So we said, okay, I hit go. Great. We started everything. We generated a whole bunch of stars. We generated a bunch of data to define planets, but there aren't any planets being drawn on the screen right now. And because there aren't any planets being drawn on the screen, we don't need to have sprites or clones representing any of those individual planets. If we did have sprites and clones representing those individual planets, that would just be a bunch of stuff that Scratch would have to keep track of. It would have to be going through all of those planets, every one of them, any code that was in the planet, it would have to consider running, right? It would have to be checking for the various events. It would have to keep track of where it's being drawn on the screen. It would have to keep track of all this stuff. And we would be wasting all of this memory keeping track of all this stuff that we weren't using. But for our purposes, more importantly, we would be wasting our clone slots, which are very limited. We only have 300-ish of them. So what thing could happen is we could say, let's have 100 star systems. And each star system is going to have 5-ish planets, and so maybe for the first 50 or 60 star systems, everything's fine. But then we hit our 300, our, our 300 clone limit, and then the rest of the star systems won't have any planets in them at all. Man, I keep thinking I see some flickering out of the corner of my eye on my stream monitor, like green screen reality flickering. But then I look over and it's not there, so who knows? Okay. Right. So we were doing this where we had, we didn't want to run out of clones. So we decided to make this system where when we hit go, we don't make any planets. But if I go to a star system, suddenly we make a bunch of planets. Those planets are now sprites. We've made sprites out of them, right? This is the, in this little script here that says when I receive enter solar system navigation mode, we're going to go through a list of properties for the 4 planets. We're going to pull out all of the planets that belong in this star system, and then we're going to make a clone for each of those. We're going to set the properties to make sure that they are the properties for the correct planet. We're going to make a clone, and then it's going to do its stuff. It's going to do its, when I start as a clone, do solar system navigation mode stuff. Then we leave solar system navigation mode, we delete the clone. There, we get rid of it. So I'm going to leave. All right, it's all gone forever. Then I'll come back, and there it is again. Everything is wonderful. I can't help but notice that there is one issue. One thing that looks like we aren't dealing with is we are not setting the orbit traveled for these planets, right? Before we had it set up so that they wouldn't always be in a straight line with each other. It seems like we have now caused that bug to exist. So before we go through the rest of the kind of overview, let's actually just real quick see if we can fix that bug. It'll be a good way to think about the code that we just wrote anyway. I'm going to hit stop so I'm not drifting and distracting myself with movement out of the corner of my eye. And I am going to go into variables here. I'm going to look at this list. I'm going to scroll down to the list of lists. And I see that we have colors, sizes, distances. Every planet has a color, a size, a distance, an amount traveled in its orbit, and the ID of the star that it orbits around. So what we do is we say, when I enter the solar system, that's this part here, we say find the first planet that has a star ID of the star I just entered. So give me the first planet around the star I just entered. Let's look at the properties of that planet based on these lists. Give me the size, the color, the shape, the size, the color, the distance of that planet. Make a copy, generate a clone, make a planet that has those properties, and then go down and then look down the list. See if the next planet in the list also has the same star ID. And do this until we've done all of the planets that have that star ID, all of the planets that are supposed to be around that star. So we start with the first one, and we keep going down this list and checking whether, okay, planet A has orbits star 1. What about planet B? Planet 2. Planet 2 orbits star 1. Planet 3 orbits star 1. Planet 4 orbits star 1. So for each of those planets, we end up going to these other lists. We say, okay, planet 1 orbits star 1. That means we need to make a clone. We just visited star 1, so now we need to go ahead and generate a sprite for planet 1. So, okay, let's go to the distances list. Look at the distance for planet 1. It's 40. Cool. Look at the color for planet 1. It's 69. Cool. Look at the size for planet 1. It's 23. Cool. Look at the orbit traveled for planet 1. It's 312. Great. Now take all these properties generate a clone that has those properties, and then go down to planet 2. Do the same thing. Planet 2, yep, that's in star 1. Okay, so I'm going to need you to give me a planet that has a distance of 63, a color of 96, a size of 44, and an orbit traveled of 238. Can you do that for me? Awesome, thanks. Let's keep going. Planet 3? Yeah, looks like planet 3 also. We're also going to need a planet 3. All right, so send that to the planet making department. They're going to need to fulfill this order. It's going to need a distance of 128, a color of 70, a size of 11, and an orbit traveled of 30. All right, cool. What else do we have for the planet making department? Looks like we also need the planet making department to make us planet fitting the specifications of planet 4. But planet 5 has a star ID of 2. We have just visited the star 1, so we don't need planet 5, and we don't need any of the others because we know that this list of planet star IDs is going to go in order of stars. It's going to start at 1, go to 2, go to 3, go to 4, because of the way we generate the list. That's something we happen to know. Some logic we have that we can depend on that the computer doesn't necessarily know. Awesome. But all of this discussion was part of a question of, it doesn't seem like we're actually using this orbit traveled, because all of the planets should be at a different position on their journey around the star. But if we go, we can see actually they all are in this perfect line, and that's a little bit silly. So let's go find where we generate them, which is here, and we can see pretty easily that we just aren't doing anything with the orbit traveled list, right? We're doing something with sizes, colors, distances. We just completely forgot to do orbit traveled. Easy peasy. So we'll do set orbit traveled to item ID of planet distances, and now it should do something different. Look at that. Oh, oops. I was like, why is it a spiral? It's always a spiral. That seems weird. It's kind of neat, but that's, such a regular pattern and not what we expect. And of course, the reason is because I set orbit traveled to distances, a distance instead of an orbit traveled. The distances, the way we generate them, the distances always increase for each planet, right? Each planet is further and further out, so the distances increase. Let's make this. There we go. Try again. There. That is better. Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate one more problem that we're going to need to fix, I think. So I'm going to go to this yellow star here. Look at that. Okay. Go to this yellow star. Everything's orbiting. Now, everything jumps back to its previous state. Right? So I go to this yellow star, and the innermost planet is about where my mouse cursor is. I'm going to leave my mouse cursor there. I'm going to fly up here. I'm going to fly back down. And you can see the innermost planet is again back at that spot. And that's because we're not updating the data in the list based on... We're not updating any of the information about our planet based on its movement here. Right? We're not updating the list. We're only updating the variable that we're using down here. Right? Here we're saying... Where are we doing that? It's up here. Sorry. Okay. So here we're saying change our orbit traveled over and over again. Cool, we changed our orbit traveled, but in this case, we changed the orbit traveled, but then when we leave, we delete the clone, and we haven't changed the orbit traveled in the list. So the movement doesn't, nothing happens. The movement of the planets while we are in solar system navigation mode does not persist when we leave solar system navigation mode. Now, it's not obvious to me that this matters from like a game design perspective. It's not clear that it's really important that when I leave and come back, the planets are returned to the position that they were when we last left the solar system. That's not really any more realistic necessarily than having them return to the position that they were when the moment the universe was generated. Either way, time isn't really like, if we at the moment every time we go back to the planet, it like jumps back to the beginning of time. But if we fix it so this movement persisted, we'd leave and then nothing would be moving, and we could spend like hours and hours and hours out here and then go back in, and it would go back. So it's not obvious this is any more realistic or better in a game design gameplay sense, but it is something that I decided arbitrarily that I wanted to do, so I'm going to do it. It's worth demonstrating anyway. Now, in the long run, maybe we want to have some kind of time variable that is always ticking forward forever and ever and ever, no matter what. And based on that time variable, all the planets will have a position, right? Based on their time variable. And so while we're out here, time will be ticking, and the planet's data will be continually updating. Or maybe we'll go to I guess what we should probably do is have it so that when we go to the planet, we add the time value to the orbit traveled, or something like that. At the moment, let's just go ahead and say before we delete the clone, let's update the lists with the properties for whatever happened while we were in solar system navigation mode. So how are we going to do that? We're going to set a bunch of things. Or replace, rather. So. Where did I put it? I just put the thing I want somewhere. Okay, so we are going to... The ID of the planet corresponds to its position in the list. So that's convenient. So we're going to replace item ID, which I can just grab up here by right-clicking and choosing duplicate, of planet colors with my color, the color of the planet. Which I guess we don't have it saved anywhere because we just use it for setting the color effect here. We don't have a variable. That's okay. Let's say the size and the color can't change, so let's not worry about that. But we're gonna the distances can't really change either, so we'll just only do the orbit traveled. In the event that we decide that their player can create some kind of solar system shattering event that causes the planets to move in their orbit, then we'll add some code. We'll add one more line of code. Replace item ID of planet orbit traveleds with orbit traveled. This should do it, I think. So let's check. All right, here we are in medium-sized green star. We're about to leave, and innermost. Let's. Go. All right. Well, that was a disaster. That was a real disaster. All right. Innermost. This tiny planet here is going to be about here when we leave. I guess it was more like about there. Okay, go back to green star. And there it is, back where it was. So I'm going to wait till that planet is near the top. Tiny inner planet is near the top, or it's kind of at a... Yep, perfect. So everything seems to be working about that system. Was that really a bug that we fixed? I don't know. Did we need to fix it? Certainly not. Does it impact anything about our gameplay at the moment? Nope. But it occurred to me, and I wanted to demonstrate anyway. That's how we would have data persist from the clone back to the list. I guess the reason I wanted to talk about that is because it drives home the distinction between the clone and the list. The list has all this information that we can send to the Planet Factory. The Planet Factory looks at this specification, says, all right, I need a planet with these specs. And it sends it to its planet manufacturing assembly line, generates a planet, puts it in the game based on those specs. And then if stuff happens to that planet that we want to persist, we can't just update the planet. We have to also update the list. We have to also update the specifications. Because the next time someone makes that planet, we want them to use the updated specs. We want them to use the most recent version of our plan for that planet. So we need to update the list, which is the specifications for the planet, as well as the planet sprite itself. That's why I wanted to like hone in on and kind of harangue extra hard about that point. Because I think it's important. I think it's important, and that's the way it is. Whew. I have the hiccups. Okay, I think I only had 2. Sometimes I have 2, sometimes I have 3. We'll see. So, that's what we did yesterday. We just fixed that bug today, of course, but we added those planets yesterday. What else do we want to do? What else can you do in this game? Well, in this game, at the moment, a universe is generated that has a small number of stars, and if you fly to those stars, you get some planets. And then if you fly to other stars, you get some other planets. And then finally, if you fly to other stars, you get some other planets. And you can fly back and forth between all these stars and visit them, and it's a kind of lovely and peaceful interstellar tourism experience. We want to add a lot more stars to our game. A lot more stars. So, one thing we could do, if we wanted to add like 100 stars instead of 3, we could say repeat 100. And then we would repeat 100 and make 100 stars all in a 100 by 100 square, which is not that good of an idea. So let's make it a 1000 by 1000 square. And now things are a little bit better. But yeah, now there's all these stars, and that's great. But we actually want to be able to make not 100 stars, not 200 stars, not, 300 stars. We want to make like 1,000 stars or 10,000 stars, some very large number. And if we're going to make that, so, I mean, even with 100 stars, if you think about it, even with 100 stars, we are potentially, running up against potential problems. I mean, at the moment, not really. We have 100 stars, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 other things, right? So we only have like 104 clones. So maybe it's fine to have, if we only wanted 100 stars, it would be fine to not. Whoa, I maybe fly a little too fast in the solar system. That's a thing I've noticed. Kind of fun. Yeah, so if we only want 100 stars, it'd probably be fine. We probably wouldn't need to do this kind of elaborate system for creating and destroying stars. But I think we want more than that. We want 500, 1,000, 10,000 stars. And given that, what we need to do is have another system, just like we had with our planets. With our planets, we had a system for destroying the planets when we leave the solar system, and then creating them when we go back in, so that we never have too many planets floating around. We want to do the same thing for our stars. And I talked about this yesterday, and I hinted as to what the problem is with this. The problem is really that when we are flying in the galaxy mode and we go to the star mode, there is this big, distinct, discrete jump. We are leaving one game mode, solar system or galaxy navigation mode, and going into another game mode, solar system navigation mode. This gives us a really good time to load the planets into memory that we really care about to create these planets. If you've ever played a video game, you have probably experienced a thing where when you go to another level, there's a little bit of a delay where it loads all the information it needs for that level. It takes all the all the data it needs, all the level position data, the 3D models, the textures, the sound files. It takes all those things, it loads them into memory, and then it gives you the level. This is basically the same thing, right? We have a system where we have a loading time, and we have this moment where we go to a new level and it loads the level. One problem is that we don't have obvious level boundaries in our game here, right? We're in our galaxy navigation mode. We just have one endless expanse of never-ending space. And because we have one endless expanse of never-ending space, there's no obvious place to destroy stars or load stars, right? We would like it to make sure that all the stars, that whenever a star should be on the screen, it is. And we would like to make sure that whenever a star shouldn't be on the screen, it's destroyed. So, how can we do this? Well, maybe let's try something really simple first. We'll try something really simple first. Well, okay. I really need to do something about making sure these stars aren't right next to each other, because it's really a giant pain to continually be bopping in and out of stars. So let's think about our stars for a moment. We have our stars, and they have a universe X and a universe Y, and they're stored in these sprites here. So the first thing I guess we're going to want to do is we're going to make a list of positions for our sprites, for our stars to have. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to go to variables. We are going to make a list. It's going to be for all sprites. Although I'm not sure that I really want it to be for all sprites in the end, even, but that's okay. I'm going to say star positions X. And I'm going to make another list, and I'm going to call it star positions Y. Mostly, I don't like having these for all sprites. Basically, there's a lot of reasons I don't like doing things for all sprites, but with these lists, the main one is just that I feel like if we keep doing this menu is going to get extremely unwieldy. And we want an easier way to keep track of these things. But I don't know that there is a better option, to be honest. Because we can use this block, backdrop number of stage, the property of sprite block, to get a variable from another sprite, but we can't use it to get a list from another sprite. And I feel like multiple sprites are going to need access to this data. So I don't know. I don't know if there's anything we can do about it. So let's just have a list of star positions X, star positions Y, make it a for all sprites list, and go from there. So what are we going to do? We are going to, instead of making, well, I was about to say instead of making a clone for myself, but let's actually keep making the clones for now. But we will also add what are we adding? We're adding positions, right? So we're going to add universe X. Where does the clone get made? The clone gets made here. So let's add the properties before we make the clone. And then we change the properties. Okay, so we're going to add universe X to the list of X positions. Star positions X. Universe Y to star positions Y. We're probably going to need sizes and colors as well, aren't we? So let's make, what have I done? What have I done? Okay. Wait, I just got rid of the make clone of myself, didn't I? Whew. Okay. Position X, position Y, we're going to need a size and a color. So that's going to be in our, we're going to make more lists. We're going to say star sizes and make a list star colors. And you can see this is already getting a little bit out of hand. I'm going to also, I did this for variables and I forgot, I didn't think about doing this for lists because all these lists were planet orbit travelids. It occurs to me that these are all for all sprites, so they should probably be capitalized too. The other really important thing, naming convention thing, that I'm doing here, that you probably noticed and also didn't think about at all, was that I made all these plural, right? Positions, colors, distances. And that's just because it's a list, so it stores a plurality of things. Colors, not planet, star colors and star sizes. Let's add our size here. Looks size. We can get size, right? Yeah, there it is. Size to star sizes, and we can't get the color effect. That's the thing. So I guess we'll do this. And then we'll set color effect to item. Oh, we're also going to need an ID. Every star is going to need an ID. So, we already have IDs. They already have IDs. Of course they already have IDs. Set color effect to item. Where is this? Is in lists. Item ID of star colors. Okay. So, let's go ahead. So now we're making doing the do game setup, and we're not doing something right. We are doing something wrong. Because it looks to me like we are making 300 identical, we're making 300 planets that are in identical positions. So why is that? I actually am confused. I'm legitimately confused about this. Oh, okay. Well, here's one problem. We're not clearing these lists. So I think that was actually the problem. This was old data that was somehow generated while we were just clicking on stuff here that didn't have any relevance to anything real. Let's clear these lists. That's important. We're going to need a bunch of delete alls. How many? I don't know. 4, maybe? Could be 4. Delete all of star colors. Delete all of star positions. Delete all of star positions. Delete all of star sizes. Hit go. That looks a lot better. We have 100 stars, and they are not identical. That is pretty good. Okay. Clean up blocks, but we're not actually doing anything with these. Add, pick random 2 star colors. Set color effect to item ID of star. I'm now noticing that these all happen to be the same. So that seems bad, doesn't it? Doesn't that seem bad? Item ID of star colors. Why are all the stars the same color? Is that... There's not any kind of when I start as a clone messing things up, right? I don't think so. I'm going to throw away all this garbage. Don't need any of that. And then let's do some debugging. Because it sure looks bad having only orange stars. Oh, interesting. Okay, this is pretty interesting in a way that I didn't anticipate. Um, I'm noticing that they're all always orange, which is here. And so that means they're always not getting their color effect changed at all. So that's odd. Um I think that's odd. Um so what if we do something? What if we make these things all be very close and we put I'm not seeing I have some kind of theory here, but I'm not seeing it. So I'm gonna minimize all of these things. I'm gonna go to the list. I actually only want to see the star colors. I think I only want to see the star colors. So that's gonna be in my looks here. No, that's gonna be my variables. Only see star colors. And I'm gonna watch. I put it 1 second. I'm gonna just kind of watch this thing go. How many are we making? We don't want to make 100. We want to make like 10. 4, 5. We want to make like 3. I don't know why I decided that 10 was like a good number. Then they all appear. Okay. When do they show? Enter Galaxy Navigation Mode is when they show, I guess. Yep. Set color effect to item ID of star colors. Let's not have them hide, first of all. Let's have them be visible while they... Well, let's leave that there. And we'll just throw in... We'll throw a show down here. We'll say show. We will show before we set the color effect. We'll see what happens there. It should be the same. Nothing different. 1, 2, 3, 4. Set color effect to item ID of star colors. What's item ID of star colors? Let's go ahead and say it. Is there anything? It seems to me that item ID of star colors is not... All right, what if we just say our ID? So a lot of what we're doing when we are debugging is trying to get information about how the program is functioning. And we're trying to get information that is... we're trying to get information that... something about our program is not doing the thing that we anticipated it doing. That means there's some mental model. I have some model of what's going on in my program, the way I think it's functioning, but it's wrong. That means I need more information. I need to get information out of my program about what it's actually doing so that I can figure out where the thing it's doing is different from the thing that is going on in my brain. So there's a couple of problems. One is that our clones are hidden because all this stuff that I'm doing here, I'm setting the properties of the original sprite, but I don't want to do that. I want to set the properties of the clone. So I'll just do a show, I'll get rid of this hide here. That's what I'll do. I'm gonna get rid of this hide for the moment. And then I'm going to hit go. Oop, I have done something wrong. I have taken everything out of a repeat. So that's not right. Where does this all goes here? Okay. That goes there, I think. Okay. 2, 3, and then that happens. All right, they don't go appear in their different locations. They don't go to their XY until we're in solar system navigation mode. That's fine. Nothing's wrong about that, really, although it is a little bit confusing. I'm confused mostly right now about what these says are doing. Like why I'm not seeing these says. It's confusing to me. Oh my gosh. Look at that. There's my problem. Star ID 847, that's not right. My ID should not be that large. I need a much smaller ID. In particular, it looks like I forgot to, I need to set my ID to 1 at the beginning of this process. Somehow I didn't do that. I really thought I did do that. Isn't that odd? I think that's odd. Let's set ID to 1. And now everything's mostly working. And we can see everything appears, and then it all goes to gets rendered at its different locations. That's awesome. We don't need this wait. We don't need these says anymore. Get rid of those. We can hit green flag. We can put this hide here because we don't actually want that. And now our stars are different colors like they were before. So that's great. That is a good beginning. Let's hide that list. Let's go back to having 100 stars in a bigger universe. Now I'm confused. I feel like I need to do this stuff at the end there. I think that's where I need to do it. Because I need to have set it first, and then... what have I done? What have I done? Oh, this color has to go after that. Okay. Great. So we're making 101 clones, and that makes sense. But we can do that instead. There we go. I think now we're doing it right. I think we are now making 100 stars, all with the correct IDs. I guess we could check whether we're making 100 stars at the very least. Oh, that's planets. Don't care about planets. Don't care about planets. Length 100. Great. Okay, so this is fine and good. And let's go ahead and do something just, let's see. First of all, let's do a time check. Let's do a time check before we do anything else. 12:50. Okay, so we are low on time. We are low on time, and so let's think about what we need to do, what we can do in this next 10 minutes. I think we are not yet in a position where it is reasonable to start loading, kind of swapping planets in and out of list of clones. I'm gonna call it our memory. Right, we're gonna load our planets to and from memory. We're not in a position where, or our stars rather, we're already doing that for our planets. We're not in a position where we can really do that for our stars, but we can get close. So let's do something smart as just a beginning process. Let's get rid of this create clone of myself. Now we hit go, and there are no planets to be seen, no planets to be seen anywhere at all. And let's go and make a system where we go through, when we enter solar system and galaxy navigation mode, let's go through this list and make the clones. So in this part here, all we're going to do is add these properties to our list. All we're going to do is add these properties to our list. And then when we enter galaxy navigation mode, we're going to need to go down the list and make stars fitting these properties. So that's going to be maybe here. Trying to decide which of these galaxy navigation mode threads to do. Let's do it here. Why not? I don't really know. We are going to do some things. All right, we're already setting our ID to 0, so that's good. So when we enter galaxy navigation mode, maybe we'll just start. We're going to get rid of this stuff. Yeah, this is what we're going to do. Okay. Trying to find the scripts that I want to really look at. So I'm going to stretch out the code a little bit. When I enter galaxy navigation mode here, let's get rid of this script. Let's put it here. And then what we're going to do now is we're going to make a bunch of clones when we enter galaxy navigation mode. So we're going to say repeat a certain amount, and that amount, well, how many clones do we want to make? We're going to make one clone for every item in our list of stars. So we can find one of our star properties, like say star sizes. And for each item in that list, we're going to do this one time, right? So repeat length of star sizes. We are going to set color. We are going to check first. We're only going to do this if our ID is 0, right? We're only going to do this if we are the original and not a clone. We are then going to change our ID by 1 each time, and then we're going to set it back down to 0 at the end. Clean up. Okay. So we are going to set color effect to item ID of star colors. We're going to set player can enter system to true. We're going to set our universe X to we're going to get these properties from the list. So star positions X, star positions Y, getting these properties from the list, and the size. Let's get the size from the list as well, star sizes. After we do all this, we're going to create a clone of ourselves. And we're going to do it again. After we make a whole bunch of clones, we're going to set our ID back to 0 so that the originals is always 0. And then what are we going to do? We're going to have a when I start as a clone. It's going to be, I had this code. Okay. I accidentally just stuck it there. Okay, so now I'm going to want a when I start as a clone. And we're going to do this stuff. And then when we go into, when we leave Galaxy Navigation mode, we're going to delete the clone. So that's going to be in control. Right, so what we're going to do is we are going to do all the stuff that we normally did when we enter Galaxy Navigation mode. We're going to do that when we start as a clone. But when we enter Galaxy Navigation mode, we're going to make a bunch of clones. Now, I can't help but note that it doesn't seem to be working. Despite... Oh, no. Maybe it works. I get I see a star there. But that doesn't actually seem right. So what is happening? Let's hit go. Let's look at star sizes. So we have this repeat length of star sizes somewhere. There. So we should be doing this. Set my ID to 0. So if my ID is 0, so this planet should be doing something. So we should be able to see. Yep. Okay, so this is just taking a lot of time. That's one thing that's true, right? When I hit this, this should be generating 100 stars. And then generating 100 stars. And then it should be drawing them. So I'm trying to figure out why it's not drawing them. When I start as a clone, do this stuff. Let's look at the mode. Let's look at Galaxy Navigation mode. We may have gotten some. Let's look at the game mode. Okay. Hit go. Galaxy Navigation mode. Repeat until. So go to Universe X, Universe Y. I'm definitely baffled. That much is true. Definitely pretty baffled. Where are the stars? Is the question I find myself asking. Aha! I guess we could have fixed this by looking at our data. We're adding Universe X to star positions. What is Universe X and what are the star positions? Well, it looks like we're putting all the stars in the same place, which is spot number 672, because we forgot to make this random. Somehow, in our adjusting of how we were organizing things, we forgot to make this random. So now we should be able to go, and something different should happen at the very least. Now we see we have a whole bunch of stars at different locations. We're adding star to star sizes. Let's look at what star sizes are. Okay, well that's 58, so that's not... Oh, look at that. Look at all those stars. Nice. Apparently we've broken something. They're also all the same size because we want this to be random too. So I don't know, we'll make it like 30 to 200. I can't remember what we did, but that seems nope. 30 to 100. Sure, whatever. We will eventually make some decisions about that, but not for right now. For right now, we have clearly broken something because we can no longer fly into stars. So let's go ahead and see why not. My guess is that it has to do with this can enter system thing. It looks like for some reason in our reorganization. Aha! Okay. So what happens when we start as a clone? We say we can't enter the system and then we're supposed to wait 1 second and then say we can enter the system. That's not working because this, when I enter Galaxy Navigation Mode, probably needs to be a when I start as a clone, because now when we enter Galaxy Navigation Mode, the clones don't even exist, right? Entering Galaxy Navigation Mode is the time that we make the clones, and then now. Okay, that was something. It's not good. So I can't help but note that if I go here, I now see 0 planets, and that seems bad. I wonder why. I do happen to wonder why. Let's look at some information about planets, I guess. Well, I don't know. I don't really know. I have to admit, I don't really know. It's 1 o'clock. We are going to have to solve this problem in the future. So I'm going to hit stop. I'm going to hit save now. Oh, I'm going to give this a name first. So we'll say begin to load stars on the fly. That's what we did. We began the process. We did not make it work. So we're still going to save it. We are going to go to my stuff. And we are going to adjust some things. So left, right arrow, flies stars to visit solar systems. The note solar systems cannot be visited. Today we began to make we started making a system for loading stars from lists of star properties on the fly, which will allow us to have hundreds or thousands of stars. Something about this process broke our ability to enter star systems and generate planets. So at the moment, when you visit a star system, there are no planets to be found. There you go. That's a good note. I guess this is probably this. There, that's probably good. Good. Okay, what about this? Yep. Everything is perfect. I'm gonna hit share. I'm gonna go back to my stuff. And I'm gonna look at the shared projects here. And there we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that concludes this episode. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you would like to have any questions, comments, or suggestions or ideas, you can send them to me using the Scratch website's messaging feature. I am built from Scratch with underscores between the words as my Scratch username. And if you would like to see any of the archived videos from earlier in the project, you can visit our YouTube channel. And you can also visit our Twitch channel, which you are currently watching, twitch.tv/builtfromscratch, same username, underscores in between the words. Yeah, we are every day from 12 to 1 p.m. So if you're watching on YouTube, you could try to catch live every weekday from 12 to 1. And all of this information and potentially more is available on builtfromscratch.net, which just has links to the Twitch stream, the YouTube, and the Scratch project. So, with all of that, thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you are having a wonderful week, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.